Aloha and welcome to Inside the Writer's Studio. I'm your host, Isla Allgood, and I am excited to be talking to someone all the way from Volcano Village. We have Lehua Wells, a member of the Hawaii Writers Guild, and she'll be sharing some of her stories, and then after she is done, we will be doing a little talk story to get to know her a bit as a writer. So please welcome Lehua.
Hi, everybody. I write a lot of stories with adventures with my little dog. And to help you understand the story that follows, I'm going to read to you how that began. How did I begin with the adventures with Ola? For many years, I've been doing the night sky weather report for a Big Island photography group. I live right near the HVNP, Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, entrance, and it always broke my heart whenever our photographers drove long distances from Honoka'a, Waimea, even Kona, only to find that it was pouring up here and the trip was a waste. So I began posting the HVNP weather each night. In May of 2018, Kilauea volcano began to erupt again. And at first I wrote it off as another blip, like the Pu'o'o flow in 2014 that veered at the last moment and went on to empty itself harmlessly into the sea. But as we all know, it became much worse than that. When the situation got so bad that the park was inaccessible with huge cracks in the highways and the park was inaccessible, I suddenly realized how stupid I felt doing a weather report each night for a place that was lost to us. So I tentatively suggested that since no one could continue to come up here, I should cease the night sky reports until when, if ever, we could visit the park again someday. Our group was always very responsive, and it was eerie when no one said a word. Then suddenly the responses came pinging in. No, we need our group good night. I was so relieved because I too needed our group good night. So I decided to gather us together each night, and after the weather report, I'd tell us a tiny bedtime story to properly close each day. I'm so glad for that decision. I had no idea how horrible the ensuing months would be and for how long we would suffer. And it turned out to be a real sanity saver to keep on with our routine, and most important, the community of good talks we have, good folks we have. My little dog, Ola, loves stories and was very gung-ho about this and promised to help me write them. She still does. Most of our stories are about adventures to share. Ola and I invented the Dream Bubble, a magic flying spacecraft that can go anywhere in just a few moments. It is shaped sort of like a giant computer mouse and made of clear materials so we can see the stars above and the earth below. I would tell her about fun things I've seen or that I'd like to see, and she would choose which one appealed to her. She's not only good at understanding me, but she's also very expressive about what she likes and doesn't like. So she is normally the one who chooses our end of the day adventure. The Dream Bubble has many magic features. It can expand whenever anybody wants to join us, and it has a mocha latte machine, unlimited supplies of spare bathing suits and towels, dark chocolate, and anything else we might ever need. We can retract the canopy to let the wind blow our hair on nice evenings. But the most wonderful feature is that it can also travel back in time. So she has a chance to see Honolulu Zoo in the 50s, swim at the natatorium, and watch Zatoichi movies. We're both sissies, so we choose adventures that are fairly safe. And at the end of each story, we choose a happy ending or healing topic to have in all our minds through the night and choose a good frame of mind with which we'll greet the morning. On December 5th, 2019, the eruption was declared to have ended after 3 months of inactivity. The earthquakes and ash explosions and rivers of lava had stopped, but by then, we unanimously decided to continue the night-night stories. I hope you enjoy them. And here is a story, one of our night-night stories about the most beautiful I ever felt. Tonight, Ola and I will fly the Dream Bubble to Año Nuevo on California's northern coast to visit the elephant seals. First, we'll look down at the waves and watch the latest group of males arriving in the sand. And blustering and carrying on to prove who's the toughest guy. Then we'll wander over to a bluff where we can look down on the new mothers, taking such good care of their little ones. Mostly, though, I would like Ola to meet a big, aggressive male who thought I was the most beautiful elephant seal lady he'd ever met. The researchers at Año Nuevo name the seals and mark them by carving their names mirror style in the sponge face of a long-handled wooden mop, dipping it in bleach, and then slamming it on the seal's hindquarters, which burns the wiry hair off and leaves a clear, dark name. My guy's name is Norman. When we humans were walking alongside a long sand dune ridge with another ridge parallel to it a bit lower down, and we suddenly came to a break in the ridge and found ourselves face to face with Norman, who'd been flopping along in the lower path. He stopped and stared. It was freezing, and I was new to the mainland, and I was wearing every garment I owned underneath a brand new gray, heavily padded coat. I realized too late that I looked exactly like the females we'd just been viewing. Norman was electrified. He woofed into the gap and began wagging his nose at me. Male elephant seals have truly bizarre noses, huge, flopping and twisted, kind of like a pig's tail. The park rangers explained that their noses are their badge of sexual attractiveness and prowess, like a peacock's tail. And the bigger the nose, the more desirable the male. Well, let me tell you, Norman had to be the hottest guy in the whole Pacific Island Ocean. He snorted and schlazzled and flapped and vibrated like crazy. I was so flattered. But the rangers grabbed some blocking boards and hurried me quickly past my would-be suitor. Except for a big white turkey last year, I can't remember any guy ever getting that excited about me. So I was sort of disgruntled to be hurried off like that. But it will be worth it to see Ola laughing in enjoyment, to see a new kind of animal. Then home to our blankets and our audio story. We gave up on whales, so we'll be in Sicily with good food and more ocean views. We're wishing all of us beauty and serenity in the night and a hearty and motivated morning.
All right. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing those. I think that was just right for the amount of time that we have. So terrific. And so that last story, first of all, I want to thank you for maybe stepping out of your comfort zone to do this today, because it's not easy for everybody to get on Zoom and
I'm
expose
so
your.
proud of having done it.
Yes, yes, and thank you. And it's really meant to inspire one another and maybe trigger some creative process in somebody else that watches you and says, "Oh boy, I like the way she did that. Maybe I'll do something like that in my story." So thank you very much for
We
doing
have
that.
we have a published writer in our little tiny volcano group, and she was a big favorite of mine, and I didn't know that's who I was sitting next to.
Ah,
And I actually learned a lot from her reading her books.
yeah.
And so, yeah, getting together and you can find wonderful wealth by getting together as writers.
Yeah, and hearing, not just reading, but also hearing somebody's process. So let's talk a little bit about Lehua as a writer. First of all, when did you first think about yourself as a writer or notice that you enjoyed that process?
I noticed I enjoyed it at I think I was 4. I could have been 5. And I have somewhere, I keep meaning to dig it out of my stuff and preserve it, a story about a mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I was badly abused and I was very alone.
Mm,
And writing was a wonderful place to be
mm,
compared to my world, you know.
mhm, mhm,
And it continued through high school. And like I say, I wasted a lot of time trying to write a great novel before discovering episodic writing. And tried fiction. I enjoy it, and it's fairly easy because I if I know who my characters are, I turn them loose and just watch them and record what they say and do,
mhm, mhm.
because they'll do that. And but episodic and real life is more fun for me now. And
Can you?
I come from a long line of storytellers.
Mhm,
The the Gales, the Hawaiians, you know, my culture and bloodline is very storyteller.
mhm.
And so it's natural to want to tell these stories. I saw something funny and here you are.
Well, this is a great opportunity to do that. And I wonder if there's a couple things that came up for me while you were talking. First of all, you brought up something that I think many, but maybe not all writers find, which is that writing is very healing. It can be healing to put our stories on paper, whether we share them or not, but just to get something, either fiction, like what you did as a child, to kind of go someplace else, right? Or sometimes writing a story of something that happened, positive, negative, helps us to process. And I thank you for bringing that up, because that's, I think our viewers, it's good for them to think about that and to encourage other people who may not think themselves a writer. Hey, there's really a lot of benefit to just sitting and writing some stuff down.
I often tell people that I have a welfare check with a girlfriend on the mainland every night, and she tells all these funny stories, and I keep telling her, write that. Don't lose that. When we're gone,
Yeah,
that story is, you know.
yeah, it is. It's very valuable. And you use the word episodic. Can you say, that's not a word I hear a lot. Can you share what that is?
Instead of like the great novel where you set out ahead of time knowing it begins here and these things happen for these reasons and there's stress and then it's resolved and it's the end. That's kind of a novel.
Yeah.
Episodic is day-to-day stuff. It's those
Mhm.
stories that you tell when you sit at a coffee shop and say, oh, back when I went to San Francisco, I saw all these guys with purple hair. Turn out they were lawyers. You know, we all have funny stories.
Yeah.
And we lose them. We blow them away like they're rubbish. You know, uh, and the beautiful stories. I'm always on people about that. And episodic is to not, if you don't want or know how to make a big epic novel, you can do these life slices, these lovely little stories, and you'll see authors who do this in a way. It's a novel, but it's made up of episodes,
Yes.
in an encapsulated way where they could almost stand alone. And I enjoy that because storytellers are a tradition throughout the birth of human beings.
So it could be fiction, it could be nonfiction, it could be a little bit mixed up. It doesn't matter. But it's about those shorter pieces like what you read. And as somebody who has tried to write something big like you, it doesn't work for me. I like to get in and out and then edit.
We're storytellers.
Yes.
We're storytellers.
Yeah, I like to do that with stories. That's what I like about poetry, because it's not something that goes on and on and on and on. And we're all different. The novel writers, their minds work in a different way. So I think it's really valuable for our viewers to think about what they get excited about.
And it can be really short. One of my favorite poems I wrote is, the most exciting man I ever met listens.
Well,
actually, no, the shortest one was, whales are so improbable.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to write your head off and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee and, you can do very short things.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up your dog in your story, and you said that your dog has been like a partner character for you in your writing. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yes. The well-known writer in my group that I discovered has a Native American receptionist who thinks everything the heroine does is dumb and argues with her all the time. And I find that with having my dog, she'll make fun of me, she'll ridicule me. I'll be complaining about how cold it is, and she'll say, but you were just complaining about how hot it is, And I said, yeah. And she said, and you promised you would never complain about cold weather again. And look at you. And I'll say, yeah, okay, I'm complaining again. And so she can be my foil, as it were. The Gracie Ellen, where that it's so boring to write about, I think this and I thought that and I blah blah, and the conversation is, I think, more fun.
Yeah.
And the interaction is more fun than for me to didactically just this happened and that happened and she can ridicule me. And I think that's very important because I can get real full of myself and expound, and I have this person who's going, oh yeah, no. And that's good, that's healthy.
And will you continue? Do you feel like you're going to continue with her in your stories, even though she's passed on to the other side?
No, and I'm working through that now. It took me a couple of weeks to come out about her having died. And people were starting to notice because I was writing more quotes and and stuff and not doing the Ola adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So you're in a
I
transition. Yeah, you're in a transition now into another place in your writing as you are in your
yeah,
life. Yeah.
yeah, yes. And I think I still need to try that thing of having a foil, the Gracie Allen,
Yeah.
to make fun of when I need to be made fun of. And it will eventually come to me, I think, how to do that, I hope. But in the meantime, the important thing is keep writing, don't let my fingers freeze. Before I
Absolutely.
joined the group, I had dried up.
Yeah.
But when you're in the group and you have to produce, you know, it's keep. And if I sit down, and I don't have a TV on or anything, I sit down and there's the keyboard. I gotta write,
Mm-hmm.
and you will write. I will
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, is just sit there and I don't edit while I'm writing. I edit afterward because that can really stall me out. I don't know about
I
everybody
think
else,
that's
but
true for a lot of people. I know when I do writers groups, I have a writers group and we talk about that. And some people struggle because, especially the people who have done professional editing in their life, they want to edit as they go. And so it
don't do it.
seems to
Don't do
help
it.
most people to not do that and let the ideas flow and then go back and then do your editing.
And the editing as you go is fine. I did a lot of tech writing. I was a computer for designer for large scale systems for most of my life.
Uh-huh.
And I did a lot of tech writing, how to use the system, blah, blah. So it's great to edit as you do that. But if you're writing stories,
Yeah.
storytelling, your story, just let it come. And I just bang away. And, having been keyboarding all my life, you can imagine them
You're pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
pretty fast. And let it roll. Just let your brain fall out onto your keyboard. And then afterward, oh, I left out this, or I wrote this twice, or later.
Mhm.
After your story is alive and real.
Right, right. Yeah, lots of good points and good sharing. And I wonder if there's one thing you'd like to share with people before we close today.
Give. Writing is such a wonderful way to give. And now more than usual,
Mhm.
when there's so many things we can't do, people we can't see, we can't hold each other in person. Give.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Lehua. And thank you for that message. And also you brought up humor, and I just want to encourage all of us to find ways to bring humor into our writing, because that too is needed. It lifts our spirits. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming today and for being part of the Inside the Writer's Studio. And for those people who are watching and want to know more about the Hawaii Writers Guild, you can go to the website, hawaiiwritersguild.com. And there's also a Facebook page for those who might do that, Hawaii Writers Guild. And until next time, aloha, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Aloha.